The anti-DEI slash anti-woke mob tried to convince us that the rise of DEI was going to be a downfall for movies as we know it. They said no more woke Disney, no more woke Pixar. But with the release of the two movies Sinners as well as K-pop Demon Hunters, per usual they were proven wrong. I never thought that I'd make a video comparing these two movies as they're in completely different genres and they're completely about different things. But I just feel like those two movies and their inclusion of DEI goes to show you that we as a viewing audience are in love with diversity and inclusion. So let's talk about it. Sinners is a movie that is set in the post-Reconstruction era about two twin brothers who go back to their home place after being mobsters in order to start a new life for themselves as well as improve their community. As they throw a gigantic party in order to celebrate the fact that they are down south again with their family, a group of bloodthirsty vampires comes there in order to practically kidnap their cousin Sammy, who has been gifted with a magical ability that is able to bring back their ancestors. The acting in this movie was great, but what I feel like really makes this movie stand out is its inclusion of DEI. Like I was saying in the intro, a lot of people did not expect this movie to do well. When this movie first came out, there were many people on Twitter practically trying to label this as a black movie, as a negative thing, in order to be like, oh, this black movie is doing so well, when it's just a movie that is about black people that's doing well. I hate it when mainstream media tries to do that. Not only did this movie have major themes involving black culture, they did this big one with including Chinese culture, Irish culture, and including Native Americans too. This movie was a DEI movie in every sense of the word. They have the historical stuff. We have a flashback that practically explains to us as the viewing audience all of the previous people that were gifted with this magical ability in order to conjure the ancestors. But this movie also did its big one in terms of including other cultures. And I just feel like, wow, I know all of the people who hate DEI threw a blow when they found out that this movie was practically a box office hit, because everybody was included in this. It was low-key ridiculous. But a thing that personally attracted me to this movie so much was its inclusion of music and its inclusion of horror. Y'all know me, if you have been a part of the pastoral court for any long period of time, you know one of my special interests is vampires as well as musicals. I love a musical down bad. So the specific inclusion of music as well as horror in this movie really entertained me. I got so many different songs just from this one movie, and I really feel like this goes to show you that musicals can do well if executed well. Because Sinners is low-key, what do we say, Sinners is a musical? I'm gonna include Sinners as musical because music was a key part of this movie. That's how we even got the inciting incident that led Remick to the juke joint in the first place. So this goes to show Hollywood that musicals can do well. I'm looking at you, Mean Girls the musical. That ish was bad. We have Sinners, we have Wicked, and now I want to talk about K-pop Demon Hunters. I just watched K-pop Demon Hunters with my friend, and I have to say that movie was unexpectedly good. Me and Harry have been talking about how animation as a genre hasn't gotten its due respect for ages now. It's low-key ridiculous. But K-pop Demon Hunters did its big thing in terms of music, in terms of being animated. All on my For You page, I've been hearing people talk about, you my little soda pop, and making the little dances like actual K-pop stars are covering the songs. Netflix, you kind of did your big one in terms of giving us a little something to chew on. So K-pop Demon Hunters is a movie about three Korean girls who are born each generation, whose one job is to maintain something called the Hanjun. It's a barrier that keeps the demons in hell so they don't come amongst us in the mortal realm and terrorize us. And I love this movie so much, and it is also something I want to call a DEI movie. This movie is unapologetically Korean. There are just so many different things in this movie that set it apart, all because it has Korean culture as a head point, right? So let me get into K-pop Demon Hunters. Like I told you, each generation has three girls who are entrusted to maintain the the Hanjun. In our generation of girls, our main characters are entrusted with making something called the golden Hanju. Forgive me for how I'm pronouncing that. I can already see y'all in the comments. Please forgive me. Like, give your girl a break. Like, give your girl a break. But our girls are entrusted with creating something called the golden Hanjun that is forever going to seal the demons in hell, so they don't have to worry about this for ages to come. And the reason why I really enjoy this movie is its consistent inclusion of Korean culture and Korean history. So our main character is half demon, half human, and she is seen as an abomination. One of the boys, one of the Hoja boys, I think it's pronounced, he is practically trying to seduce her. And in order for her to sympathize with him, he tells her the tragic backstory that led him to be in the situation. We go back all these years to feudal Korea, and we learned that he gave up his family in order for him to have a good life in the palace. And there were so many different things that were included in K-pop Demon Hunters that makes it a DEI movie. The fact that this movie does not shy away from its Korean influence and its Korean culture is something that I really loved. What is this place? I don't know. Let's check it out though. Shush. Everybody shush. Everybody shush. It seems as if somebody new has just stumbled upon our pastoral court. Hi there, stranger. My name is Ella Pastoral, and all of the lovely people that you see before you are a part of my esteemed court. From my squires who have early access to my videos, to my nobles who have special behind-the-scenes access, to my dukes and duchesses who are able to pick out topics for my videos, to my own special royal advisors who mean so much to me. All of these people make up the Ella Pastoral court. If you want to be like these lovely people and be a part of my esteemed court, go to Ella Pastoral on Patreon. But it seems as if you need to be on your way, traveler. Let's head back to the regularly scheduled content. The opening scene where we see the origins of the K-pop Demon Hunters is very similar to how we have that opening scene in Sinners, where we get to learn about the ancestors who were also blessed with a musical gift. The fact that both Sinners and K-pop Demon Hunters are unapologetic about its ethnic influences, as well as mixing horror and music, is something that I really love. I love a good musical. Please leave me with a song that I can sing for weeks after this. Like seeing the opening scene in K-pop Demon Hunters of these Korean magical girls in their traditional outfits fighting these demons really did something to me. I love magical girls. I love magical girls so much. Y'all don't even know. I also love how they did progression in this movie. Obviously, they did it differently, but it's still similar in how they did it. We get these flashbacks of the ancestors, the main plot of the movie, and then we hop into the post-credit scene where we see Sammy living his life out of the Reconstruction era, and we kind of see the same flow of time happening in K-pop Demon Hunters. We see the ancestral part with the original K-pop Demon Hunters all the way in feudal Korea. Then we see the progression of how these magical girls through all of these different eras of music were able to maintain the Hanjun up until now in modern day, and that's where our story sets. I don't know, these movies are so similar. So as I was watching the filmed portion of my video, I feel like I wasn't doing justice to my whole point about why I feel like Sinners and K-pop Demon Hunters are so similar, and so I just wanted to further expand my points in this section. So I feel like several of the similarities that I noticed that make these two movies similar to me and have been causing people to be so obsessed with them is the importance of community and how that impacts individual characters, the importance of culture and religion and how that shapes everybody's framework, as well as using music in order to push the plots forward. So the first thing I want to talk about is cultural elements. I obviously talked a little bit about all of the different culture that we see in both K-pop Demon Hunters as well as in the movie Sinners, but I feel like I didn't do justice in explaining its actual importance. I watched this girl's TikTok and I'm gonna play it for you guys to really see what she's talking about.
So my FYP has been full of people saying that the ending is bad. That's fine. I'm not here to change your mind, but I want to make sure you're fully informed because a lot of you have wrong takes. And it's not your fault. You're just not Korean, and that's okay. You just don't know Korean history, and that's okay. So let me help you, okay? So Jinu tells us, obviously heavy spoilers, but Jinu tells us that he is 400 years old. And for some people, that's all like, you know, when Angel comes out and says like, I'm 250, like cool, whatever. But in Korea, 400 years ago, that's important. That's an important piece of information that informs you about who Jinu is and why he is the way he is and why his ending is so important and actually really good. But it's fine. You can think it's bad. That's okay. I'm not here to change your mind. 400 years ago in Korea was the 1600s. The 1600s was the Renaissance period of the Joseon dynasty. Okay, this isn't just like a random number that they threw out. This is a very pivotal piece of Korean history, because what happened 10 years prior was the 1590s. In the 1590s, what happened is you have a guy who has a statue in Seoul now, right? Because his name is Admiral Yi, and Admiral Yi did the unfucking thinkable, you guys. Admiral Yi stopped the Japanese invasion and created what we knew as the turtle ships, which guys have an equivalent. We have an equivalent over here in the United States called the ironclad ships, you know, from the Civil War. Same thing. Same idea. Same thing. It was basically the Civil War ironclad ships that we learned about in the US, like how we learn about those. Times that by like 1700, that's how we feel about the turtle ships in Korea, okay? Statues of this guy. He prevented a Japanese invasion. That was the 1590s. 1600s happened. Explosion of Renaissance. Like art, music, books, writing. I mean, type was already around. Like it was exploding for the rich people. So Jinu would have been a poor person that was suffering famine, maybe even a slave, okay? And transitioned into the Yangban, into the royalty, into the monarch. And when we watch K-dramas about this time period, they're only talking about the monarch. But we can use this, right? I know all of you are watching K-dramas. So if you're watching a K-drama about the Joseon dynasty, you'll notice that every single K-drama about the Yangban and the Joseon dynasty and the monarchs, they have a very good scholarly relationship with China. Most of them are not going to mudangs, publicly, I should say. Most of them are using Confucianism. So Jinu would have been somebody that started off in Korean shamanism and transitioned into Confucianism as he transitioned into the Yangban, okay? And this is a problem that many of our ancestors have. By transitioning from being poor into being a Yangban, he would have lost that ritual at the end, because Koreans believe that ghosts are dum-dums. Like you're brand new dead. You don't know what's going on. You're tied here. Your stuff's here. Your people are here. Your loved ones are here. You're just like fucking floating around like all willy-nilly. Like you don't know what's going on. You need somebody to help you because you've never died before. Mudang would traditionally, your family would hire mudang to help do the ritual. And back in the day, you could hire mudang for like rice, right? Like, cause like famine, right? Poor, like no money. Nobody had money, but we were still doing rituals. So you would get a mudang, your mudang would come and they would like help with the kut to like the ritual to like pass the person on, to like guide them, okay? Like, and then you get rid of all their stuff. You get rid of it, goes away. Get rid of it all, okay? Make it go away. Because you don't want anything tying them to you, right? America, we do things very differently. America, we're very much like, let's like mourn and like have this thing. Korea's like mourning period, cool, done, awesome, move on. Like, get them the fuck out of here or you're gonna be haunted for the rest of your existence. Many of us have ancestors, like my grandmother, for example, my great-grandmother, who were practicers of Korean shamanism that never received their rituals after they died because we are not practicers of Korean shamanism. Does that make sense? Jinu falls into that category where he would have been poor practicing shamanism and then rich in the Yangban practicing Confucianism or whatever was the trend at the time coming from China, and that he would have not have received a ritual when he died, okay? The whole thing about K-pop demon hunters is an internal conflict. It's an internal conflict with culture. Right? So Jinu's ending is actually perfect. If you think about the fact that the Huntrix, what they're doing at the end, instead of sealing the Hanmun, right? What they're doing is they're performing a kut. They are reaching back into the old ways and they are performing a ritual so that the demons can pass on. Instead of just sealing it and pretending like they don't exist, which is what we do now because we don't perform the rituals, that's what they're doing. That's why the Hanmun is rainbow instead of golden, right? Because they're not sealing the Hanmun. They're performing the ritual so that our ancestors can continue to pass on through their lives. That's why Jinu is so important, okay? That's why Jinu's story is so important, okay? Okay, do we understand now?
But as somebody who wasn't Korean and didn't know a lot about historical Korean aspects that flavored this movie, after watching this girl's TikTok, it really reframes all of my previous thoughts on this movie because I thought the ending was lackluster, but now that I've watched the girl's TikTok, I understand how religion plays a part in it. And that's also something that we see in Sinners. I don't think we would have had a movie called Sinners if Christianity wasn't playing such a huge role in the movie. Sammy being literally called Preacher Boy, and how he is consistently fighting between good and evil as it goes from him going to a juke joint and having his Christian values practically being played with, not only in terms of the temptation he sees in the juke joint, but also in the temptation and the evil that surrounds Remick and all of the demonic vampires who are specifically trying to get him. Religion plays a gigantic part in Sinners, and I also think that religion also plays a major part in K-pop Demon Hunters. Like the girl explained, the ending of the movie wouldn't have been as impactful if I didn't know that. And I also feel like that's why a lot of us non-Koreans were feeling like the movie was lackluster, because we don't have the historical context in order to realize that what they did in terms of the golden Hanjun, and how instead of it being a golden Hanjun, it was a rainbow Hanjun, letting everybody experience finality as a lot of ancient Koreans would have practiced, is something that it didn't hit as hard because I obviously didn't know the context. Every non-Korean person that I've heard critique this movie, we all were like, whoa, why did Jinu, if that's his name, I'm gonna put a picture of Homeboy on the screen for y'all, why did Jinu have to sacrifice himself? I'm literally filming this at 3 o'clock in the morning. My brain is fried right now. But why did they have to practically be separated? And why did he practically give up his soul in order for Rumi to practically get a power up in order to save the world? But we also see the theme of self-sacrifice in the movie Sinners. Practically everybody who met Preacher Boy / Sammy that day sacrificed their lives so this one boy can continue the legacy of their ancestors in order to save the day. Like, we literally see this in how Perline sacrifices herself in order to save Sammy, because there could have been an alternate universe where they sacrificed Sammy in order for all of them to be saved, because Remick actually just wanted Sammy for his abilities. I don't know if he would have seriously left everybody else alone, but the main god that he wanted was definitely Sammy. So we definitely see the theme of self-sacrifice throughout both Sinners as well as K-pop Demon Hunters. And thinking about the importance that religion has on these two movies made me also think about the concept of community, because we all know that religion and community play a major hand in hand with each other. So it just has me thinking about what community means in terms of both of these movies. So we have the main antagonists of these movies. We have Remick for Sinners, and we have Jinu, as well as the gigantic purple mist. I'm not gonna lie, guys, I'm forgetting names, but y'all gonna get pictures and y'all can put 2 and 2 together. A lot of their driving factors have to relate to loneliness. So in Sinners, Remick practically is very, very sad that he is in America. He's isolated from his Irish community. He's alone. He has no one. Literally, when we get introduced to Remick, he is literally running away from Native Americans and he is by himself. There is no one around him, and humans aren't supposed to be alone. In Sinners, we see community and how much it matters from the beginning of the movie all the way to the end of the movie. We see the sharecroppers on the plantation all working together. I think it was Sammy's father who practically looked at him sideways for trying to shirk his responsibility in order to go entertain his cousins at the juke joint, practically trying to tell Sammy like, hey, it's not good to just focus on yourself. You have to be a vital part of the community, and that's why by morning you're going to be performing at church. I don't care how tired you are, you have to be a member of our community. So when we get introduced to Remick and he is by himself, we already know that it is a sad situation. So when we first see Remick and we see how isolated he is, we already know something is up. Typically, people don't do solo dolo. If you watch Twilight, you always see how they come in their packs. It's not normal for people to be by themselves, and that is why I feel Remick was so obsessed with gathering more people. The fact that he was isolated for so long was a problem for him. Like, look at the fact that it was a group of Native Americans that were chasing down Remick. You're stronger in numbers, and it's just better for your psyche that way. That's why Remick was so ready to practically kill those KKK members, because he was that desperate for human interaction, even if that meant he had to practically absorb these KKK members into his little hive mind. Because we know that Remick doesn't believe in that racism stuff, because I forgot if it was Smoke or if it was Stack who asked him. He was shaken to his very core that they would even think that he was racist, but he stuttered a little bit because he absorbed the mind of those KKK clowns. So community is very important for Remick. He is literally ready to kidnap Sammy because he realized that Sammy has an ability to conjure the past. We see this in the juke joint when we see all of the ancestors of the people in the juke joint. We literally go all the way to, I believe, the Qin dynasty in terms of people's ancestors showing up to dance, because that's how powerful Sammy's voice is. Remick wants to use that ability in order to conjure his ancestors, conjure up the past where he was probably surrounded by all of his Irish Jewish people, all of the people that were his community. So that is something that is very prominent in Sinners. Now we go to K-pop Demon Hunters, where the idea of community is very important. Like we saw from the beginning all the way up into the end of the movie, we see community being the forefront of this movie. From the beginning of feudal Korea up until now, there has always been 3 girls who came together to protect the community from monsters. And that is the power of friendship. Community is a vital part of this movie. When the girls start to lose faith in themselves, they literally fall apart as a unit. When the main girl, purple hair, I don't want to butcher their names anymore, so I'm just gonna describe them to y'all. When our main character, purple hair, starts to lose security in herself and distance herself from her friends, the whole entire family unit falls apart. Going to show you the importance of community. And don't even get me started about the antagonists as we see them in K-pop Demon Hunters, because they also exemplify what happens when you don't have community. So the big purple guy, who is like the real big bad of the movie, is manipulating all of these demons. But the main technique that this entity is able to use in order to manipulate people is the power of community. And we see this obviously in Jinu. The reason why Jinu is ready to do anything and everything this big purple smoke cloud tells him to do is because of community. So in Jinu's backstory, we find out that the reason why he became a demon is that he threw away his community, which was his mother and his sister, for riches, and that has been a plague on his mind. I was telling my friend Dami about this, but yo, as somebody who watches a lot of historical dramas, specifically Chinese and Korean historical dramas, the fact that he, the eldest man in their family, abandoned a mother and daughter combo probably meant that after Jinu died, or immediately after Jinu abandoned them, they had an awful life. Poverty, sickness. They were probably even sold into some type of sexual slavery too. So that has been a major thing on Jinu's mind since feudal era Korea. Oh my god, my selfishness caused me to lose my community and probably caused my mother and sister to live an awful, terrible life. And so he has been practically rubbing his brain cells together, trying to figure out how to get that toxic memory out of his head. He can't live with the guilt of having abandoned his community like that. And so that is how the gigantic purple cloud is able to manipulate him. I forgot what act this happened in, but there was a specific line that the purple smoke cloud told Jinu. He's like, if you disobey me or ever try to disobey me again, I'm gonna make those memories worse. Further going to emphasize to us the importance of community. If community wasn't so important to Jinu, he wouldn't be so guilt-stricken at having abandoned his loved one. And also, it was Jinu who came up with the idea of making a Korean boy group to begin with. In an alternate universe, he could have told the gigantic purple smoke cloud, hey, let me be a soloist to go up there to convince people to support me. Because there are K-pop soloists that are doing their big one. But Jinu knew the importance of community, and that's why he suggested the idea of a boy band. That way more people will be into them. That way he'd have support in fighting these girls. Community is a major part that connects these two movies. But that isn't all of the similarities that I noticed between K-pop Demon Hunters as well as Sinners. A huge theme that connects both of these movies is self-actualization and realizing who you really are. I already practically explained the duality of Sammy, but I never got to explain the duality of our main character, Rumi. Rumi, just like Sammy, is practically living two double lives. Sammy is a sharecropper Christian who also loves to dally in the secular world, right? Unlike Sammy, who practically is kind of loud and proud about his two interests, Rumi has to hide the fact that she is a demon. It's actually so sad. She has to have separate changing rooms from her friends. She doesn't show her arms at all. It's actually a double life. I feel so bad for my girl. But through the movie Sinners as well as the movie K-pop Demon Hunters, both of our main characters learn something very important about themselves, and that is to be true to who you are at the end of the day. Rumi goes through this whole entire arc where she learns that, hey, hiding the fact that I'm a demon and hiding my true self from my friends is gonna get us nowhere. I have to live in my truth, right? Even though she has her family and the mother figure of Celine telling her you have to hide who you are. Rumi is kind of giving Elsa, if we're being so serious. Sammy learns the same lesson, but he learns it in a very brutal, gruesome way. He literally has to have everybody who he loves and cares about murdered before his eyes before he realizes this lesson. At the end of the movie Sinners, we literally see Sammy fighting for his life, struggling to escape the vampires that massacred the people that he cares about, and he's able to make it to church like he promised his dad. Instead of comforting his son, like, oh my god, I missed you, son, you were afraid something happened to you, because they were lynching black men specifically. And the fact that nobody heard from Sammy, they should have been shaken in their boots, right? But upon upon seeing his battered, clawed son, instead of comforting him, Sammy's dad is like, oh my god, my son has returned. He finally is gonna give up his sinful ways and be the good boy that I raised him to be. Obviously, Sammy is not going for that at all. He literally went through a trial by fire and learned a gigantic lesson like, hey, even though my choice to go to the juke joints led in a massacre, I can't let the deaths of all of those people be in vain. Pearline literally sacrificed herself for Sammy, and that is something he never forgot. Yet again, going back to the whole theme of community that I was talking about, Sammy abandons his false community, his church community, who, seeing him bruised and beaten up like that, didn't really care, and decides to find a new path for himself, remembering his found family community that sacrificed their lives in order for him to taste freedom. And we see the importance of this community to him in the end credit scene. I forgot if it was Smoke or if it was Stack that got turned into the vampire, but him and Mary come to see him in the end, and they reminisce about how that was the happiest night for him before the massacre, and how that night has stayed with him. And at the end, we see that Sammy went on a path of self-discovery where he started playing his secular music that would have been frowned on by his parents, but he is happy and seeing the remnants of his past in the form of, I'm telling you, I don't remember if it was Smoke or Stack, but seeing his cousin and his wife, girlfriend, let's say partner, coming back to him, lets him practically relive all of that in a way that if he didn't go through the journey of self-actualization. And I just feel like K-pop Demon Hunters and Sinners are both raw, honest, original pieces of work that use music in order to explain all of the stuff that I previously listed. It's very hard for us to get such original, I gotta keep saying it, original pieces of work that touch on such deep topics. And of course, they use my favorite motif of music. I feel like I don't have to explain how they use music in order to get their points across. But yeah, I just am so excited. I really hope that this continues as a trend of original pieces of work using music in order to get their point across, because I've been looking at everybody's takes about these two movies and we are so desperate for more original pieces of work. Everybody is sick and tired of all these sequels and stuff like that, because guys, this actually kind of getting ridiculous. I went to see 28 Years Later with my best friend, and tell me why they're releasing another Jurassic World. Is it Jurassic Planet? I don't even know, but they are releasing another Jurassic World movie. We're tired. So seeing refreshing, unique pieces of media like this is something we have obviously been desperate for. I mean, look at the numbers, y'all. The numbers don't lie. But let's hop back into the video.
They're similar but different, but the fact that they have music, horror, and they are proud about their ethnic origins is something that I love, 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 love. And it practically just goes to show you that everything all of those we hate DEI people were saying was nonsense, because these movies are doing so well. And as somebody who's obviously, you can tell by how I look, is into really girly pop stuff, I love what K-pop Demon Hunters is doing for all of us who are into magical girls. Like, K-pop Demon Hunters has done a great thing for all of us who are into magical girls and extra girly content, because there's a current trend on TikTok that's taking the song for Mulan and put it to K-pop Demon Hunters, and that started a whole trend. Like, right now is such a time to be a girl for real. There's this trend that takes the song from Mulan and puts it with all of the magical girls. Then that trend evolved to show all of the different girls of all cultures across the world dancing, and I just feel like, what a time to be a girl. Like, what a time. I'm gonna play it for y'all to see, but I love stuff like this. I love stuff like this. And the K-pop Demon Hunter fandom is practically turning into the Spider-Verse fandom, where people from different cultures are imagining their own K-pop Demon Hunters in their cultures. And I just love stuff like this. I love stuff like this. It's so cute. I'm seeing so many different cultures participate, and I just love, 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 love this. And I just love stuff like this because right now, with our current state of affairs, with all of these deportations happening, the rise of the alt-right pipeline for girls, all of this xenophobia, seeing that people can put aside their biases for once and come together is something I'm so excited to see. And yeah, I just want to say DEI is never really going away. We will always have people who appreciate their culture and want to share it with the world. And if you haven't watched K-pop Demon Hunters and or Sinners, you really need to lock in. Those movies are actually doing their big ones. And that's practically all I have to say. I might have to sneak some magical girl content on this channel, but I'll definitely see you guys in the next one. Bye!